Hello again. Today, this video is going to be about the Form 6 again, but I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail. So the last video I did was only a quick 10-minute video that we just sort of skimmed over briefly. So it didn't quite go into too much detail, which this one I'm going to go into a lot more detail. So I'll just go over each section in a little bit more detail. So this here is the appointment and reappointment of a real estate agent or residential letting agent or auctioneer form. So this is the form that has to be signed right at the start before everything gets underway. So this form has always been updated. Make sure it's the most recent one. It'll say that where it says this form is effective from the 1st of May. That's the most recent one. Okay, so in part 1 here, these are going to be the client details, which is going to be you and whoever else owns the unit or house. So we'll get this information from a title search as well prior to you signing it, so we'll know that you do own the property. So in here, we're just going to have the client name, the ABN and ACN. That's only applicable if you own the property in a self-funded super or a company. So normally that will be left out, and it will always have no ticked for are you registered for GST. This is your current address that you currently live at, suburb, state, postcode, your current phone number, your mobile number. Normally it'll just be mobile because you won't have a home phone, and your email. And the same thing down here in this area here, it's just your partners or co-owners area. So this is part 2. This is the licensee details. So this is the details of the real estate agency, not agent, selling the property. So tick real estate agent, trading name, so on and so forth, ABN, ACN, license number, expiry, their address, and their contact details. So this will be the agent. So for me, so in part 3, which is here, this is going to be the property that's being sold. So we're going to have a description in here. We're going to do 2-bed, 2-bath with a pool. That can be the description. And the address is the address 123 Fake Street, suburb Wareham, state Queensland, postcode 4507. So the lot number, plan, and title reference, that's the information that it would have been when the block was originally made. So it would have been the lot number, the plan, and the title reference. That's going to be on the title search, which I'll show that in another video. So here we're going to part 4. This is the performance of service. So we've got the option of sale, purchase, let, auction. So we're doing a sale. So we'll just tick sale. Part 2 here. This here it either gives you the option to do a single appointment or a continuing appointment. So for a sale, it says here, for sales of 1 or 2 residential properties, the term is negotiable and the agent can be appointed or reappointed up to a maximum of 90 days per term. There are no limitations of the lengths of any appointments of anything other than residential property sales. So this means for property sales, you have to do a single appointment, and it has to be, it can be a maximum of 90 days. So we'll do from today, and then the end date would be 90 days from today. If you were going to be renting your property, it would be a continuing appointment, and it just would be from today, and it would continue until it's cancelled. So that one there, that's important that that's done correctly. Part 3, which is this one right here, this is where we're going to so reserve will be for an auction, list is for sale, letting is obviously for if you're renting it. So we're going to list it, and we're going to list it for offers over $1 million, let's say. So that's there. So this one here, we're not going to worry about that because this one here is for auctions or properties that are marketed without a price, which we're always going to put a price on. So this one here, number 4, instructions or special conditions. The client may list any conditions, limitations, or restrictions on the performance of the service. So this one here is just going to be any special conditions that you've made, which normally there'll be none. So we're going to leave that blank. Okay, we're on to part 5 now. So this is the termination of appointment. So I'll just jump down here really quick and explain the differences of these three so this makes sense. So there is 3 types of listings. There is an open listing, a sole agency, and an exclusive agency. So an open listing, pretty much this means that there can be multiple agents that sell the house all at once. This is not the best way to do it. Obviously, it's going to cost you more for advertising, and it's also the agent's not going to put the effort in because there's obviously multiple people selling. So the normal one that you will go with is going to be an exclusive agency, a sole agency that normally doesn't happen. So as you can see here, sole agency, when you must pay the agent. If you appoint a new agent during the existing sole agency term and the property is sold during that term, you may have to pay a commission to each agent, 2 commissions. So that's why you don't want to do that one. So the exclusive agency is the one that most places are going to do, which just means you're locked into an exclusive sale with that agency for the 90 days or until the appointment's cancelled. So pretty much how that works. Let me just go. So we'll go back up to the termination of appointment. Now this will all make sense. So with open listing, you can terminate in writing at any time, but with a sole agency, a sole or exclusive, the client and agent can agree in writing to end the appointment early for appointments of 60 days or more. Either party can end the appointment by giving 30 days written notice, but the appointment must run for at least 60 days unless both parties agree. So what that means is the appointment is going to run for 90 days, and then once the 90 days is up, it is going to turn into an open listing. But prior to that, if you wanted to cancel the appointment because you weren't happy with your agent, you would have to give them written notice on day 30, which means that the appointment will run for the 60 days, and then the appointment's cancelled. Obviously, if the agent is in agreement with you to terminate the listing, it can be done earlier. But if they're not, then the 60 days is the earliest it can be cancelled. Obviously, if you're not happy with the agent and they're still selling your property, you can just say no to any offers that they bring up until the time of when it's cancelled. So with a continuing appointment, which is going to be for letting, you just need to give 30 days written notice or less if both parties agree. So obviously here, we're going to click exclusive agency. That's what we're going to. This part here, at the end of the sole agency, the parties agree or do not agree, the appointment will continue as an open listing. Pretty much, it'll always be ticked agree because it needs to be reappointed. When the time comes, if the agent does want to reappoint for another exclusive agency for 90 days, they can, but normally it just runs as an open agency. And yeah, an open listing, and the one agent just keeps selling it. You're not going. There's no point of getting another agent to sell it because that agent's not going to put the effort in, and your current agent probably will not put the effort in either because you've got another agent. So it's not the best thing to do. So unless you either stick with the one agent that you got, or get rid of that agent and get a new one. Don't do open listings with 2 agents at once. It's not the best way to go about it. Okay, so part 6 here, this one here, we acknowledge the appointed agent has provided me or us with information about sole exclusive agency appointments. So this is you just signing to say that this here, all this information has been explained to you correctly. I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, it's not. So that's why I'm making these videos so that you can watch this beforehand, you can understand it, and then when you do engage a real estate agent, whether it's me or somebody else, you know what you're signing and you know what you're getting yourself into. So this one here, part 7, commission. The client and the agent agrees that the commission, including GST, for the services to be performed by the agent. So here, the commission is negotiable. It must be written as a percentage or dollar value. So pretty much here, majority that, let's just say we're going to do something crazy. 3%. No, we won't. We'll do 2%. 2%. has to be including GST. It can never be plus GST. So including GST, and obviously here, you should ensure that the commission is clearly expressed and the client fully understands it. So this should be discussed well and truly before this form even happens. When the commission is payable, that should always be ticked for sales. So it's payable when the contract is entered into settlement. This one here, you would tick that if you were letting, maybe, because then the commission's obviously paid at end of month or middle of month or something like that. So it's always this one for sales, unless there's some special term that you've both agreed to, but this is the standard. This is the standard one. Okay, so we're going down to part 8 here. So this is just pretty much going to go over all the fees that's included. So advertising, so let's say realestate.com is $1,629. So that's realestate.com.au ad. And then we're going to have professional photos, $250. So that's there. So the authorized amount, that plus that, date payable, 2 weeks from now, or it might be right now, it depends. Normally it would be at least a 7 or 14 day thing. So this is repairs and maintenance if applicable. So let's just say, for example, you live in another country, you don't want to know about it. So you might say there's $500. You might say $500 of repairs without approval. So I might find something that I think needs to be fixed, and then I can get it fixed. Normally, the person that owns the house lives in the house, so this would normally not be applicable for a sale. For a property manager, it obviously would be, because sometimes it takes a couple of days to get in contact with the owner, and say, for example, there's a tap and it's pissing water out of the wall. Obviously, that's something you've got to get fixed right away, so it might be $300, for example. But for the sale, we're just gonna not worry about that because that's not applicable. And again, that's just the description of the fees that were up here. So section 4 here is just any rebates or commissions that I benefit from providing you a service. So if I'm going to recommend you a solicitor, someone to mow your lawns, anything like that, but I get a kickback from it, I have to say what it is. So if I recommend you the lawnsman and he's going to give me $10 for every lawn service, I have to put that in there so you're aware. Normally that's not something that normally happens. So that one normally is left blank. So this one here, this is just a warning. I'm warning you to seek legal advice before signing this form. So this pretty much, once this is signed, once this is signed and agent signs it, and you get a copy of it, this is now a legal binding document. At the end of the day, you haven't signed your life away or anything like that. If you don't like the agent, you don't want to sell your house with the agent, you can always just deny any offers that they bring until that sort of time comes up. Normally, if you aren't getting along, normally it'll be a mutual thing, and you'll both agree to end it early. But if you do have any legal questions regarding this form, you do have to contact legal advice, because a real estate agent is not legally allowed to give you advice on this. So this would just be full name of both the owners, signature and date, the agent. So that would be me, for example. So I'll put my name here, signature here, date. Schedules and attachments. That's just listing any attachments that are a part of this. Right now, there's no attachments, so that's going to be left empty. So part 10 here, this is reappointment. So once it's gone to an open listing, you can then reappoint. So this here, use this section to reappoint your agent. A new appointment form is required if any of the terms or conditions are changed. Your agent can only be reappointed within 14 days before the contract ends, not before. So it's 14 days from the 90, and you want to keep this as an exclusive agency. So you'd fill this out, and we'll tack on another 90 days. This normally doesn't happen. Normally it just keeps rolling on as an open listing, as I've said before. So we're just gonna That'll just always be left blank. Okay, so this is just a schedule. So there's a few things here that we're going to go over. So this here, prior appointments, this one here is just making sure that the agent's taken reasonable steps to make sure that you're not in another service, whether that's an open listing or a exclusive agency. So we got to make sure that you're obviously not in another exclusive agency, because that's illegal for us to do. There's two exclusive agencies going. So we're going to make sure, yes, the client warrants that another property agent has not been appointed to perform this service listed in the appointment. So yes, that one there. This one here, market price. So this is pretty much saying, has the agent given the client information regarding on what the value of the property is? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be yes. So we're going to say yes. The client acknowledges receipt of the comparative market analysis attached to this appointment of property. Or this one here, the client acknowledges receipt of the comparative market analysis provided by the agent digitally on, let's say I gave it to you 2 days ago. So we'll do that. This is just a disclosure of the price. So this here, persuasion to section 214 and 216 of the Property Occupations Act, where the property is to be marketed without a price and or the property is residential property to be sold by auction, the agent must not disclose a price guide for the property or what the agent considers a price is likely to result in a successful or acceptable bid for the property. So that one there, if it's an auction, I can't go telling everybody. The auction's obviously, it's just auction. It doesn't have a price on it. Everyone has to bid for it. I can't go telling everyone, hey, if you bid 1.5 million, you're going to get this house. Can't do that. So here, however, the agent may give a person a comparative market analysis or the written explanation showing how the agent decided the market value of the property if the client provides written consent. Normally, we're not going to do this. Do not authorize. We don't want the buyer to know exactly how we got the figures. We want them to, unless it's obviously under market, and then we can go, hey, look, this property is actually under market compared to the other properties around the area. But normally, you don't want to give them a CMA, because normally the CMA will be on the higher end of what the value of the property is, so it might deter them from offering that price. So you always want to try and let them decide what they think it's worth. Try and get some open homes going, get some scarcity, get a whole lot of people in there that want the house, and then it sort of gets people to jump on it and offer more than they normally would. So we don't want to give that out. So public liability, this is just going to be your client's insurance, your insurance, the amount of cover, policy number, expiry date. So for auctions here, we're not going to go over the auctions too much, because auctions on Bribie Island, no good, waste of time. Firstly, you don't let the right amount of people come to the property to view it. You're not going to, obviously, people are not going to come and bid on the auction because they're worried they're going to pay too much. You're not going to get the people that are going to buy property on Bribie Island are not going to buy it at an auction. We're not in Sydney. We're on Bribie Island here. People don't want to buy something and jump into something without being able to go through the processes of doing the pest and building and all that sort of stuff, and getting to view the property and really getting to know it, rather than just bang, I'm going to put a 1.5 million on a house that I've never seen before. It doesn't happen here. It does sometimes, but unless you got something special, maybe, but like a normal house, no, not gonna work. So we're not going to worry about the auction. Privacy here. The client acknowledges that they have, where necessary, have been provided with and completed a privacy notice and consent by the agent in the form annexed to this appointment of property, or located on the agent's website. So, yep, we're just going to tick that. Privacy consent form is on our website, which will, or it can be attached to this, but it's normally going to be on the website. So here, requirement for sole or exclusive agencies. So the client acknowledges and accepts that the following notice is provided in accordance with the agent's obligation under Section 103 in the Property Occupations Act. So the agent has, in accordance with the requirements of the Property Occupations Act 2014, discussed with the client whether the appointment of the agent is to be of sole agency or an exclusive agency, and the proposed term of the appointment, and for an appointment of the sales of residential properties other than a commercial scalable appointment, the client's entitlement to negotiate a term of the appointment up to a maximum of 90 days, and the consent of the property if the property is sold by someone other than the agent during this term of the appointment. So that there was pretty much the same thing as in the top form was just saying, have I explained this to you correctly? And the answer to that is going to be yes. So this here, verification of identity. So we obviously need to view some sort of identification because we need to know that you are who you say you are and you own the property. There has been cases in the past where people have sold other people's houses, and pretty much once it's done, sold, and the solicitors have all done the conveyancing, it's legally that other person. So obviously that's the fault of the real estate agent and the conveyancer because they didn't check. So that's not going to happen. But still, we're going to make sure you are who you say you are. So yes, we've cited your identification. Client has provided the agent with proof of the ownership or authority to deal with the property. So yes, that's going to be on the title search. So we're going to do the title search. It's going to come up with your name, John Smith, and your license is also going to say John Smith, and chances are your license is going to have your address on it too. So that way we can see, okay, you own the house. Obviously, if it's one of these ones here, a company or a trust acting persuasion or to a power of attorney or a personal representative of a detailed estate, obviously there's a bit more documentation that needs to go through it. But if it's just your house and it's owned in your name, it's nice and simple. John Smith. The title document says John Smith. Your license also probably says where you live. So you can't go wrong there. Okay. Material facts for the property. This one here is just anything that needs to be disclosed. Say houses, you know the house is full of termites. You can't hide that. You legally should I obviously have to tell the person that's buying the property this house is full of termites. Or someone was murdered here 6 months ago, so on and so forth, stuff like that. Like that's stuff that people need to know because that is going to affect their decision to buy the house. If you bought a house and then found out 2 months later that someone was murdered in it, it's probably going to change your opinion on the house, and you're going to think, okay, I wouldn't have bought this if I knew this. So that's obviously that's something that needs to be, anything that's going to affect someone purchasing the house needs to be, that you know of, needs to be obviously presented. So property information. So this is just a little bit more stuff here. So pool compliance. So pretty much, is there a non-shared pool on the land? The answer is going to be yes or no, depending. So is there a non-shared pool? Yes, there is. And yes, we have a pool compliance certificate. We'll just get that done. There's plenty of people that do it. If you don't have one, we'll get it done. If you can't for some reason, say it's totally non-compliant, you can't afford to fix it, then we have to do a Form 36 before it goes into contract. But normally that's not the case. So, and same with that one there. That's only if it's totally non-compliant and it's unfixable. That's the only reason you would do the Form 36 and this section here. So property details and disclosure and marketing information is here. Sometimes it is attached, sometimes it isn't, depending on what the information needs to be. If it's a basic property, you normally wouldn't have it, but I'm going to have it on this one just so I can show you this one. And just any comments that we're going to have here about the whole thing, and then just signature, client, agent. These are just the standard terms and conditions of this Form 6. Here, I'm not allowed to give you any advice on this. This is, if you want any advice on any of this stuff, you have to go to a legal representative. So here, this is the property detail and disclosure that I was talking about here. These two sections here. So these are the attached forms. Normally the form's going to end here. I've attached these to show you what they are. These are just the property details. So name of the seller as it appears on the title. Also, we'll start at the top here. Sorry. Is the agent authorized to order a title search for the property? Yes, we are. If the client has authorized the agent to order a title search, complete the following details. So the name, this is just so we can find the title document if we don't already have it. So seller's name, seller's name, address, description of the lot. Chances are you're not going to know that. If you don't, we can find that. So that's fine. Electrical safety. Is there a compliant electrical safety switch on the land? Yes, there is. Is there smoke? If it is, a smoke alarm compliant. So this here, if it is not, it will have to be made compliant prior to settlement. Pretty much just need to have interconnecting smoke alarms. Normally, majority of people's property is already up to scratch. If your property has been a holiday rental or a rental in the recent past, it will be smoke alarm compliant, but you just need to get a certificate. It costs about $50. So we're going to say yes. Is the land affected by an application to or order made by QCAT in relation to a tree or fence? We're going to tick no. Obviously, if there is, we'll tick yes. For this case, we're going to tick no. So this one here, tenancies, disclosure of residential tenancies and rooming accommodation applicable for all sales. So has the property been let in the last 12 months? So let's say we're going to say no, but in the case of yes, so we just have to get the information of when was the last rent increase, evidence of the last rent increase. Is the property subject to a tenancy? So is there a tenant in it right now? If that answer is yes, we obviously have to put the information below because that obviously has to be a part of the contract. If you're buying a property or selling a property and there's a tenant in it, and the tenant term is going to obviously go over the settlement date, and so the person is buying the property with the tenant in it, has to be a part of the contract. So that's going to be in here. So this section here, this is just going to be the managing agent. If it is a rental, if it's not, this is going to be left blank. This one here, matters that affect the property, registered encumbrances. So this is going to be on the title search. So it's just going to have the easements. It'll normally just say that the council owns the rights to all the pipe works and all that stuff that go under the land pretty much. Any other little things, like if there's any caveats over the property, any other things are going to go in here. Any unregistered encumbrance like stigmatized properties, builder work or others. Normally this will be left blank unless there's something like stigmatized property. Let's say, for example, there was a murder in there. So obviously that's stigmatized. So that's going to be here. Any owner builder work. You've done an extension yourself. You're not a builder. That has to go in here. Some other stuff here. So disclosure of the seller's warranty under the REIQ contract of sale. So under the terms of the standard REIQ residential contract, the seller is required to provide various warranties. If the seller is aware of any issues where the warranties are not correct, the seller should obtain legal advice about any obligations prior to submitting a contract to a buyer. So the property is on a state, national, World Heritage List. No, it's not going to be. On a contaminated land register. No. On an environmental management register. No. Any facts or circumstances that may result in the property being classified as contaminated. No. Have you received any proposals or communication from any authorities about the property which may affect the property? No. Any actual or threatened claims of proceeding which may affect the property? No. Is there any unregistered lease, easement, or other right capable of registrations, including which may affect common property or assets of the body corporate? It's going to be no. Obviously, if you don't have a unit, there's no body corporate, so that's not you're not going to worry about that. You're normally not going to have common property. Is the present use of land lawful? I would hope so. So we're going to say yes for that one. Sorry. In the Gold Coast Regional, does the law? We're not in the Gold Coast, so we're going to just leave that blank. That's not applicable. So financial details. The seller should obtain legal and financial advice about GST to avoid potential financial consequences. So normally, if you own the house in your own name, you're not registered for GST, so that'll be no. So the solicitor's details for the client. So this will just be your solicitor. If you haven't found a solicitor yet or engaged one, that's fine. We can add that in later. Units use only. So this here, we would normally get this information off you in a bit more detail anyway. So this is just for the body corporate fees, including the sinking fund, the period, what floor level it is, does it have a lift, and is there a disclosure statement we can get. Normally we'd get all this, we'd organise this all prior to all this anyway. Down to the marketing information, pretty much here, this is pretty straightforward. You just tick what it is. So it's a house, it's brick construction, appliances, we've got so on and so forth. We've got gas oven, gas stove, electric stove, oven, hot plate, so on and so forth. Style, say it's a Queenslander. Type, low set. Room details, obviously we just fill this out. Features, community facilities, transport, hot water system, interior wall services, outlook, all that stuff. That's pretty straightforward. This is a comparative market analysis that can be attached to this contract that we're doing. Normally this would get sent to you well and truly prior to you signing this, because obviously this is how you come up with what the price is going to be normally. This here is just going to be the property address, prepared for John Smith, the date. So recent sales. So we're just going to normally the CMA, which I'm going to make it totally another video on a proper CMA, so you can see what that is. So this year, it's going to have a couple of recent sales, the sale date, the sale price, property description, and then it's the same thing but current ones that are on market. So this is just comparing properties that have recently sold, properties that are currently for sale that are similar to yours. Let's say the average of these 4 properties of recent sales and the 4 properties on the market are around $1 million. So this means your house is around $1 million. That's how this works. So this, and then pretty much that's the end of the form. So I hope this video was informational. I know it went on for a long time. I wanted to go into as much detail as I possibly could so that you could be 100% prepared for this form when you do have to sign it. So congratulations.